Welcome to another edition of Unfiltered with Mike DeZonias. I almost got that wrong. On WILI, 1400 AM and 95.3 AM. FM. Wrong again. Totally messed this up. It's because I was off the air a couple of weeks. But today we're actually doing a recorded show, and in studio we have Curtis Ehler from the finance department.
You got that part right.
You know, I got that right.
There we go.
Finance is a big issue right now in town.
Yeah, finance or the lack of it. Yeah.
The lack. So tell us, you know, a little bit about what you're going through now. It's budget season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the taxing district, the first taxing district, the Willimantic taxing district, they're working on budgets. All the departments are working on budgets. Facebook monitors are going crazy. They're telling us what we should do, what we shouldn't do. What's your thoughts on all this?
It's a tough year, Mike, and I think you know that, being that you're seated on the town council representing the Windham voting district. It's a tough year. We as a town took care of our general government budget last year. We were able to achieve a flat budget last year with raiding our rainy day fund, with going ahead and doing a little bit of magic math, which is part of every budget, right? But we kind of pulled all the tricks out of the hat last budget season last year, and now we're faced with a pretty tough reality of how we're gonna make this work, how to make our government run. With me on the Board of Finance, both the Board of Education and the Town Council are due to deliver budgets to us by the 15th, so that's the end of this week,
right? Which
is really tough. It sounds like Board of Ed is really ahead. The proposed superintendent's budget is coming in at a 3.97% proposed increase for the budget. The town, you're working on that right now, but it's really tough because with the Board of Finance, we're in charge. After you guys craft your budget, your priorities, we get to go ahead and see, is this realistic? Do we have the money to be able to afford these priorities? Do we have to roll something back? Do we have to kick back some numbers to you? Historically, with the general government budget, we've only done an up or down vote on the bottom line as a Board of Finance, but we have a little more flexibility with Board of Finance. We can go department by department. We can kick back department totals to the town council, or we can break them off to have the voters vote for them separately if we think that there's something that deserves some attention. Whereas with the Board of Education, we just get to look at the bottom line. That's in state statute. But we know we're going into a tough year, just on the budgets, and that's the challenge that you're seeing. So I'd like to hear how things are developing with you on town council. You know that I'm always there, going ahead and watching how you're working. I'm trying to respect my role on finance and keep my mouth shut a little more during public comment than I usually do. What are you seeing right now with town council? How's the momentum going towards getting us a responsible budget?
Well, you know, our first meeting was started to go pretty well. There were some cuts that nobody wants to make. You know, we're given a whole dose of budget passed. You know, and we've got an inflated system right now.
Yeah.
So cuts have to be made in order to meet the requirements of the taxpayer.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that we would love to do, and there's a lot of deliberation on what can cut, what we can't cut. I've seen on Facebook celebrations being cut, and I think people are really misunderstanding exactly what's being cut
mm-hmm.
to these programs. When you have to cut a position, a job, it's never something that you want to do. You want to keep all the jobs possible, but at some point in time, you have to weigh out, how many people is this servicing versus how many is it affecting. A lot of things that we take a look at. So one of the areas that some cuts were suggested, and and voted on. The reason it was done that way is because we didn't want to cut the bottom line and then have a service closed down for a day or 2 days and maintain the same. You know, what we were trying to do is keep the services close to the same for the people.
Okay.
We haven't gone through every department yet, so there's definitely more to come.
Yeah.
It's a very tough road for us because, you know, I try to get my point across and as much as possible, but you have to realize there's 8 Democrats on the town council and there's 3 Republicans.
That's right.
So, you know, we can all vote one way and it does not matter. So, you know, if people want to reach out, the puppet master this year is Bill. Bill Sayers is he's going to basically decide what your taxes are this year. So, you know, if you want to reach out to Bill and give him some thoughts, you might as well do that because they caucus before the budget meetings. They sit in a room. Each one gets their role, and they come up and they vote as they're told.
Yep.
You know, and that's how it's been for years. And until the voters start to look at the individual that they're putting on the council and stop voting by the line, this is how it's going to be. We're not going to, you know, what is it? Doing the same thing repetitiously and expecting a change. What is it called?
I think that's the definition of crazy.
You know, I mean, so, but that's what we do. And I will tell you that we've got to get off all this federal level stuff right now because we're not getting the federal money. We're not getting, you know, we're not getting a lot of state funding. I read this morning that there's a bunch of state funding being cut. Because of fraud, you know, that they're finding. So we've got to look into that. We've got to really buckle down. I mean, at your house, look at it. When I go, I look at it like my own house. You know, what can we afford? There's a lot of things we'd like to do, but what can we actually afford and still maintain, you know.
Exactly. That's what makes our budget process so strange as a town of Wyndham. That's what makes your job so hard on the town council, because you're trying to do exactly what you said. Talk about what are the priorities that the people who elected you are looking for the town to accomplish, but make sure it's happening within that dollar figure that the taxpayer is willing to vote for, right? But how do you do that as a town council when the town council has to deliver a budget to the Board of Finance by March 15th, which is way before the state closes its legislative session. So you don't even know what revenues you're getting from the state, which in our town is, you know, but depending on which budget and a lot of things, so depending on the year, you're talking about 35 to 55% of a town's revenues is coming from the state.
Sure.
So how are you supposed to be responsible as a town council member? And that goes back to what you were saying before. With we have Democrats as a supermajority that are running the town. It's been that way for a while. The last time that the charter, the document that runs the town, was rewritten, the Democrats got to decide who was rewriting it and what was going to be in there. And just a budget process that makes absolutely no sense, that you as a town council, even if you wanted to be responsible, even if you wanted to make sure that you were balancing the needs of the town with staying within our means, how can you do that when you don't even know what your revenues are going to be?
You have no clue.
And it's actually beyond irresponsible. So that gives us a lot of pressure here on the Board of Finance side. That's why we have a little bit of flexibility, thank goodness, in the charter. As a Board of Finance, there's a strict process on the town council side, but the Board of Finance can hold things up a little bit. Hey, we have a visitor. Chris is coming in the studio.
Yeah, it looks like Chris Reddy's coming on.
Which is great because we're talking about state revenues now. Chris will be able to help us out with how that's looking at the state level this year. But it's just goes back to exactly what you're saying, trying to be a responsible town council member, but coming up against the reality of the situation, which is Republicans are outnumbered up there, folks, and we could really use a change.
It is. It's, you know, and we tried to talk about this before the elections, and you know, obviously during election season it really doesn't matter. You know, you've got that band of it's kind of like the them eight people, and they're all listed as Democrats, even though there's a bottom line person in there. But you look at that at election time, you had the bottom line running Ken Follin and Mark Doyle. When they were Republicans running as for the people, and what did they do right after the election? Ken turned into a Democrat. And unfortunately, and prayers go out to Mark, because Mark's not feeling too well, and from what I hear,
sorry to hear that.
and I hope he gets well. But the political policy doesn't change. They banded together, they caucused together, and it's wrong. And they control what happens in this town, and they have controlled it for a long time. And I believe it's the same on the state level. We're controlled by the Democrat, population.
I'm glad you turned to me on that. I am going to chime in and say that I'm going to agree with you, and it simply is, when there's been one-party rule for decades, this is the situation that we end up with.
That's right.
In addition to that, we have not only policies such as this, where they are trying to spread out candidates across many different parties to try and control minority seats, but then we get to looking at actually how they try and enact policy. And that's what I'm dealing with at the state level right now, and looking at some of the legislation that's coming out, is this is being done through emergency certification. I just found out the other day that with some of the most controversial bills that are being talked about last week and now this week, they're going to start limiting testimony.
Of course.
Because why should we allow the people who we represent to actually freely speak?
Well, listen.
So now they're going to put a cap on it and say, well, we're going to limit this to 24 hours of testimony, 3 minutes per person.
Well,
limit it.
The Democratic legislators, if they've already made up their mind about how they're going to vote, I mean, why are they wasting their time listening to hear what people think?
So one of the things that I've heard, and I will say this, is that the contention is that many of these items or these bills or concepts that have been raised were debated in the 2024 and 2025 session.
Okay.
So if we've already heard about it, do we have to hear about it again? And my answer is yes. Things change. Information changes. Things become more significant as time goes on in some cases, especially when it's bills that people oppose. And to have a circumstance where there isn't the transparency, there isn't the public input, there isn't the opportunity for people to voice their support or opposition, what does that leave us with? What we're dealing with right now. Right.
So I'm a little confused about you're bringing up controversial bills, controversial issues. How can we have this much controversy in what we call a short cycle, right? I thought that this legislative cycle was just supposed to be on budgetary issues.
Yeah, adjustments for budgetary issues.
So how can we have so much controversy?
From what I understand, it is that much of the work that was done in the previous 2024 and 2025 sessions was not completed because the process of legislation was taking too long. So this is their attempt to try and speed up the process and get more accomplished in a legislative session. So we're going to create these large omnibus bills that contain not only budgetary adjustments, but also housing and homeschooling and all these other things too.
Okay, so they're going to be legislating in addition to just making budgetary adjustments.
Yes. There's actually been quite a bit of that. There was some very interesting things that have come out in the past week, and I'll give you a little preview of some of these, because we'll be talking about them again on Thursday on Right Now, 3 to 4 p.m. on WILI.
Nice plug.
Thank you. One of the most astonishing things, despite how much the public benefits charge has been a important talking point since 2024.
Absolutely.
One thing that I brought up last Thursday was that the state is going to transition from gas-powered leaf blowers, backpack leaf blowers. And one of the legislative items is that the state departments that utilize gas-powered backpack blowers. State contractors who work on state property are going to need to transition to battery-powered equivalent leaf blowers for 2027. That's coming up awful soon. Would you agree?
I can think of one other state that I'm aware of that does have some laws on the books about these battery-powered lawn equipment.
Who do you think is going to pay for this transition of state departments and state contractors, but the taxpayers? And where is that going to come about? Under the public benefits charge of your electric bill. Yes.
Oh, I thought they would at least do it straight by
No.
just overinflated contracts.
Come on.
That's
So,
amazing.
yes. So this brings up a couple of important things because it doesn't just affect the state. The state is immediately. We're also looking at a ban on the sale of gas-powered leaf blowers in 2029 and a ban on use statewide in 2030. Okay? Now, one of the things that I previewed with Matt on Thursday was a little bit of the anticipated cost of this transition. And I tried to make this pretty clear that we have, by the time you buy I'll preface this by saying that I use the example of steel products. That's what I have as a backpack blower. That's what I have as a chainsaw. I like those products. I think they're good quality products. I think that they are ones that I would hope could withstand type of abuse that people typically
Not a paid endorsement.
Yeah. That equivalent to have a backpack blower, 2 batteries, and a charger that would handle more than 1 battery at a time, you're starting off at about $2,500.
Whoa.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, clearly the next person after state departments and state contractors who are on state property, the next person that these organizations who can get a neighborhood together and say we want to raise some money and petition one of our legislators to stop allowing gas-powered backpack leaf blowers, we are now going to go after the landscaping contractors who are the ones that are coming into these neighborhoods, because the majority of the testimony that I saw was from Greenwich and New Canaan and Darien, and we don't want to do our lawns, we're going to pay somebody else to do it, and we want them to do it quietly. Think about a contract, like a landscape contractor that might be doing 14 hours of work blowing leaves in the fall. How many batteries they're going to have on hand, charged and ready to go to make it through a day, when the backpack blower that I previewed the other day requires 2 batteries to operate, and its duration on high, which I can't imagine anybody using anything but the high setting, 17 to 18 minutes.
17 to 18 minutes.
On 2 batteries. So you're going to need 6 batteries per hour minimum to run 1 backpack blower. How are you going to charge this up? So here's what I see in the future, and this is my crystal ball from Chris. All right? The only way that a landscape contractor is going to be able to charge these things is if they have a huge inverter system set up in their truck. 5,000 watt inverter, sine wave, so that it properly charges these batteries, which means that when he pulls up in his diesel pickup truck, he's going to have to leave that truck idling in the neighborhood for the entire time that he's now blowing with his electric backpack blower.
But I thought the Democrats had a rule you can't idle your diesel for more than 3 minutes in this state.
Well, guess what? They're about to be told that that is not feasible.
Right.
Now, so that's very interesting that the state. So the state is legislating during what's supposed to be only budgetary discussions, budgetary adjustments. That's interesting because I see some of that here on the local level here, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, you just had there. We're working on this first budget session the other night, and it's discussion only. Next thing you know, we're making policy.
Oh, a whole lot of it.
We're doing a lot of policy changes.
So a special meeting, so you can't adjust the agenda during a special meeting.
Right.
And the agenda item, it says discussion only, so you can't act on anything.
Yeah. And I brought it up. I brought it up quietly. I sent a text over to our parliamentarian. He looked at it. He switched his phone over to Bill Sayers. Bill Sayers says ignore him. That's what happens. So
So we should probably tell the listeners what sort of things are being legislated for them that they'll never hear about it until it comes smacking them.
Right.
Yeah, in the middle of next fiscal year.
So one of the things that our brand new tax assessor
Yes.
brought up is he would like to hire private investigators to go out and scan your license plates in the town of Wyndham to see where you're paying taxes, who you're paying taxes, and are they actually being paid. The other thing, he would like to hire a firm to go and audit all the businesses in town to make sure that all the businesses are properly declaring their property.
So you hear that, the small businesses? If you haven't registered your copier, your copy machine now, your fax now, you better let the assessor know because he's coming for you.
Yep.
Right, and he's going to go back. They're going to go back years. I mean, it is.
What's the justification on this? Do they think that there is a lot that they're planning on findings? I can tell you
you
that
can always find more.
I can tell you I've responded to literally hundreds of motor vehicle accidents in Willimantic. I can't even count how many of them involved unregistered, uninsured vehicles.
Sure.
Like, this is something that I hope that they're ready for the information they're about to find.
Well, we saw this in Hartford. Hartford had a pilot program. Hartford had a pilot program for doing exactly this, scanning license plates and figuring out who's registered and not registered. The system crashed. The computer system crashed because every single license plate they scanned wasn't from here. So do they really, are they even set up? Are they even ready for the unbelievable number of people? How do you fairly administer this?
So now let's just look at just the vehicles. So what happens when you find that all these vehicles that are now parked on your public road are no longer registered? Are you suddenly going to come along and start towing all these vehicles and impounding hundreds of vehicles in the town of Wyndham? Because
and then how do people go to work? How do people pay their rent? What does that do at the end of the day so that we can chase after this tax revenue? This is the sort of interesting the sort of policies that are made beyond the public eye, without any forethought, without any input. There could be some really interesting implications here.
Without a doubt.
So thank you, Mike, for trying to call it out.
I was going to say, fortunately, we have you guys here.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, like I said, we've got, Curtis is on, finance now, and we've got 3 people on the town council, but we're up against 8. So, our time is coming to an end for today. But remember, we have another budget meeting tonight. Remember to tune in to Chris Reddy's show on Thursday at 3. And until next week, we're going to go out, WILI, 1400 AM, 95.3 FM.